Feels like it's been a while since Wilds of Eldraine, but it's actually only been like a couple of months, yet here we are with spoiler season for Lost Caverns of Ixalan, a set that I personally am very excited for, not just for the incredible reprints of Mana Crypt and Cavern of Souls, or the Jurassic Park inclusion with the Universes Beyond, but because I think this set's bringing back a lot of really cool mechanics and fun cards, and I'm excited to go into them. So let's jump into the video. So the new cards continue, and I have to say there are some insane reprints in this set, both box toppers and in the commander slot. We definitely will talk about them in a future video, but I want to focus on the newer stuff because there's so many cool new cards, and I feel like with some of the more recent sets, like there's been a mixture of like some cards that are okay, and then it's like a lot of great reprints, which is like good, but also new cards coming into the game that are actually good and unique. Is always a good thing too, and so I think this is definitely an example of that, and today some of the cards we're going to look at are really, really cool from a design perspective. So, if you guys have not yet done so, please consider hitting that subscribe button, like the video if you do enjoy it, click the bell icon if you want to stay notified. That way whenever a new video is posted, you'll be able to see it right away, and you'll be able to get your up-to-date information on Magic the Gathering, and if you missed the first video I posted today, you can check it out in the playlist that this video will be in. So let's get started. First up, we've got Bonehoard Dracosaur. This is a 3 red dinosaur dragon with flying and first strike. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top 2 cards of your library. You may play them this turn. If you exile a land card this way, create a 3/1 red dinosaur creature token. If you exile a non-land card this way, create a treasure token. So, dinosaur dragon typing is actually just really cool in general. Someone said that they had previously stated there were no dragons on Ixalan, and then I guess maybe this part of the story moving forward, some have been discovered. I don't know. I'm unfortunately not as adept in the Magic lore as some others. There's plenty of people out there who do all kinds of videos about that you should definitely go check out if that type of thing interests you. But I'm here to look at the card. It only costs 5 mana to play. It is a 5/5 with flying and first strike, but this ability is not anything to sneeze at. So you basically get an impulse draw. You exile the top 2 and you can play them this turn. And then, if you exile a land card this way, you create a 3/1 red dinosaur creature token. If you exile a non-land card this way, create a treasure token. And obviously, you can't, they don't stack, so it's not like if you get rid of 2 lands, you get 2 tokens. But being able to get extra access to cards in the deck, getting a treasure that helps you to play them, all on a pretty cost-effective body, just makes this card feel like it has a lot of potential. Obviously, Gishath, another, dinosaur, I mean, that's got to be the best dinosaur tribal commander, right? But, like, in terms of slotting into a commander deck, this one right off the bat kind of feels like a natural fit, but I think it's actually a pretty cool card outside of, that format specifically, depending on, what other dinosaur support comes out that maybe allows it to be brought out a little more easily. Now, I did say we're going to talk about reprints in a later video, and we are, but I wanted to mention Growing Rites of Itlimoc because this card is a really, really good reprint. It is, of course, going to be standard legal. I believe the original version of this card actually came out it was either Ixalan or Rise of Ixalan, one of the two, and it's a great card. It has gone up in value a lot over the past couple of years, and now getting a reprint here with new artwork is really cool to see because I just think this card's awesome, and, having more accessibility for it is great. Basically the backside of it is like a Gaia's Cradle, so it's a really, really powerful card and a very good reprint that is going to be included in the main set, and I just kind of wanted to shout that out if anyone hadn't yet seen it. Cosium Confluence is 4 and a green sorcery. Choose 3. You may choose the same mode more than once. Search your library for a cave card, put it onto the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. Put 3 +1/+1 counters on a cave you control. It becomes a 0/0 elemental creature with haste. It is still a land, or destroy target enchantment. Honestly, I don't know too much about existing cave cards, and as I'm editing this video, I'm probably going to throw up like a picture of a cave card or 2. I don't know how many there are, but I know there's probably at least a couple lands that are considered caves, so I guess it's ramp in a way. But it's certainly interesting. The cost feels a little high on the surface, but there may be caves that are in this set or that exist that I'm just not aware of at the moment, that are going to work well with this. And so if that's the case, I certainly could see where it would have a lot of potential as a playable card, but right now it just feels a little bit mediocre. I reserve the right to change my mind, though. Hello, Ancestral Echo. This showcase frame is just chef's kiss. What a fantastic, fantastic job they are doing so far with the showcase frames for this set. It is 1 white-blue legendary spirit, flying ward 2, pay 1 white-blue, exile another target creature or artifact you control, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. So, pretty standard with what we've seen a lot of white and blue strategies do, but it's also got flying and ward, and it's relatively low enough to bring out that I think you could probably make this work as an interesting commander. I think the Blink strategy does have commanders that might do better what this card does, but it certainly fits in the deck and is not a terrible card for any stretch of the imagination. Vito, Fanatic of Aclazotz. I probably botched that one too. It is 2 white-black, legendary creature, vampire demon, flying. Whenever you sacrifice another permanent, gain 2 life if this is the first time this ability has resolved this turn. If it's the second time, each opponent loses 2 life. If it's the third time, create a 4/3 white-black vampire demon creature token with flying. Pretty cool. I think this is the same Vito, Thorn of the Dusk Rose Vito, going back quite a while, and he's probably had some other prints too. The artwork is incredible again, and it's not bad. In terms of like a commander, again, I hate to say this, like I think Edgar Markov is probably just better for vampires, but like this certainly is a cool card that will more than likely see some play. And I think that like this actually plays in well with those life gain burn strategies. So we'll see. But I like it at least on the surface. I think it's got some potential. Quatley, Poet of Unity. It is 2 and a green, legendary human warrior bard. When it enters battlefield, search your library for a basic land, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. Pay 3 and then 2 Boros, so any combination. Exile this card, then return her to the battlefield transformed under her owner's control. Activate only as a sorcery. She's a 2/3 that searches a basic land. Not terrible. I guess it gets you some, mana fixing if you need it. But she turns into Roar of the Fifth People, and this is a 5-step saga. The first one says create 2 3/3 green dinosaur creature tokens. The second one says creatures you control gain tap, add red, white, or green. Third one says search your library for a dinosaur card, reveal it, put it into your hand. Fourth one says dinosaurs you control gain double strike and trample until end of turn. And I just realized I cannot read Roman numerals because I said 5 and there is in fact only 4. This is neat. It's neat enough, though. Being able to search a dinosaur is solid, and that other, the second step is decent. Obviously, the first step has its uses. The double strike and trample thing is good, but it's kind of win more in dinos, because usually there's, like, other cards that already allow them to do that. But it's relatively low investment to actually bring out, so it's got some uses. I do like it for what, what it has going for it. Next up, we've got Souls of the Lost. Pretty spooky artwork, just in time for Halloween around the corner here. This is 1 and a black creature spirit. As an additional cost to cast a spell, discard a card or sacrifice a permanent. It has Fathomless Descent. Souls of the Lost power is equal to the number of permanent cards in your graveyard, and its toughness is equal to that number +1. This card genuinely just outclasses Tarmogoyf in literally every way, right? Like, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure any strategy that can mill or is going to play this, this is basically a better Tarmogoyf. However, the meta shifted significantly from when Tarmogoyf was like a huge threat. So, of course, it's, power creep is a thing. But I just thought this interesting enough when I read this. I was like, oh, okay, so we're just taking Tarmogoyf and making a version of him that could potentially be better. Obviously, having to discard a card or sack a permanent is a bit of a downfall here, but you want to get stuff engraved, so it's got that going for it. And obviously, you're going to want to play this in a specific strategy. Honestly, though, it's not terrible, but it's not amazing either, because it is susceptible to graveyard banishment. Cards like Soul Guide Lantern, which are standard legal, can very easily get over it. But it's still a cute card, and I definitely think it has a little bit of application. The Ever-Flowing Well is 2 and a blue legendary artifact. When it enters the battlefield, mill 2 cards, then draw 2 cards. So 3 mana to draw 2 cards is alright. Descend 8. At the beginning of your upkeep, if there are 8 or more permanent cards in your graveyard, transform the Ever-Flowing Well. The Descend is, of course, whenever cards are sent, when any permanents are put into your graveyard from anywhere. We covered that in a previous video, so basically at that point, once you can do that, you can go ahead and transform it into the Myriad Pools, a legendary artifact land. Tapped for blue. Whenever you cast a permanent spell using mana produced by this card, up to 1 other target permanent you control becomes a copy of that spell until the end of turn. This is absolutely wild. This card, being able to make copies of other permanents is insane. Being able to it is obviously only until end of turn, but there's definitely ways to make this work. Getting double enter the battlefield, trigger effects in certain cases, although I don't even know if that's actually possible. This is why I should research these things a little bit more, but I guess you could technically turn a treasure token into, like, another creature that you cast. So there, it has its uses, alright? It's a decent card. It's draw power for 3 mana. That's pretty good. Jadelight Spelunker is X and green. When it enters battlefield, it explores X times. We did explain the explorers. I believe, look at the top card of the deck. If it's a land, you can put it into your hand. If not, you can put it in the grave or put it back. And then it gets a +1/+1 counter, I believe, if you put a card back. So Actually, I mean, not terrible. It's pretty low cost. It's a buy a box promo, it looks like. I don't know if it's in the main set, but the version that they released is a buy a box promo, so that's kind of what we're working with there. Intrepid Paleontologist, 1 and a green, creature, human druid, tap, add 1 mana of any color, pay 2, exile target card from a graveyard. You may cast dinosaur creature spells from among cards you own exiled with Intrepid Paleontologist. If you cast a spell this way, that creature enters the battlefield with a finality counter on it. So finality counters, if you're wondering, because I also had to kind of look this up, is designed, it's a new type of counter in Lost Caverns of Ixalan that is designed to minimize memory issues for cards that return something from the graveyard. That basically says if it would die, it's exiled instead. So you put a counter on it, and then when it is exiled, it goes away. That's what the finality counter means. It seems like just a quality of life thing, because we have a lot of cards that do this already, and you just kind of had to remember. So now you put the finality counter on it, and it makes it easier to remember. So basically, you know, anything you cast gets exiled after you cast it, which is actually really good, because then I'm pretty sure you could just cast it again with this card on a later turn. So in Commander, if you're playing Gishath and it gets exiled or something with Swords to Plowshares, you can cast it back without having to worry about Commander tax. Certainly nice to have that as an option. And finally, for this video, we've got Throne of the Grim Captain. It is 2-drop legendary artifact. You can tap to mill 2 cards. You can craft with a dinosaur, merfolk, pirate, and vampire, and pay 4. So crafting is another new mechanic, and it's as exile this artifact, exile the 4 from among permanents you control and or cards in your grave, return it under its owner's control, craft only as a sorcery. So it is a cool new mechanic, and there are some other cards that are going to utilize it. I do think this is really hard to pull off, because of how specific it is, and you're almost never going to have like those 4 cards in the same deck unless you're playing like Changelings. But when it transforms, it turns into the Grim Captain, which is a 7/7 skeleton spirit pirate with menace, trample, lifelink, and hexproof. When it attacks, each opponent sacrifices a non-land permanent. Then you may put an exiled creature card used to craft it onto the battlefield under your control, tapped and attacking. Obviously, this card is absolutely busted if you could resolve it easily, but it is borderline impossible to resolve unless you build a strategy specifically devoted to that, and even then, you're going to have so many consistency errors in getting that to work. But if you have a way to cheese it out or can somehow make that work, this card is beyond insane. I mean, with hexproof, menace, trample, and lifelink, and then forcing your opponent to sacrifice stuff, bringing back the stuff you get rid of, it's a lot of things in a big card, and I bet it'd be pretty fun to resolve at the very least. So yeah, the Grim Captain and Craft we'll talk about more in an upcoming video, because I think some more of the reveals from today actually started to cover that, and obviously you can only go through and look at so many things at a time. So let me know what you guys think of this slate of reveals. Are you at all excited? Sound off in the comments down below, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.